Good morning and welcome to this online service. My name is Shana and I'm joined today by friends from the Camden Bahá'í community, Faraneh and Ramin, to mark World Religion Day. If you're joining in live, please do join me at midday for the virtual Saida where we'll be having tea and conversation. You'll find the link to join in via Zoom in the description below this video. You'll also find a link to donate to the virtual collection plate. I invite you now to light a candle with me. Igniting a light of unity. Sparking our imagination where humankind strives together, illuminating the many paths that may lead us towards ultimate peace. I'm delighted to introduce a very wonderful person whom I've had the pleasure of getting to know these past few years, and who will share some background on World Religion Day. Welcome, Faraneh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the celebration of this very special day, the World Religion Day, which is celebrated annually every third Sunday in the month of January. At a time like this, when our planet is faced with a devastating pandemic that has brought humanity to its knees, we need to give thanks to all our religious traditions that have sustained us through this challenging period, and in fact throughout the ages. To give you a little bit of a background, World Religion Day initially started by followers of the Baha'i faith who believe that all religions have a common source, one God or creator, who is known by different names in all religious traditions. Followers of the Baha'i faith believe that all humans are born equal and that we all have the same rights regardless of the religion or belief or creed that we follow. Let's pause for a moment to look back in history and have an examination of the religious traditions that have emerged over the ages and see where we started from and where we have gotten to up to now. Inspired by this philosophy, the National Spiritual Assembly of the Bahais of the United States announced the institution of World Religion Day in 1949, so over 70 years ago, and the first such day was observed in 1950. The day calls for members of the human family to recognize that all traditions and religions have a common spiritual goal. This recognition requires setting aside differences to embrace our common humanity. Indeed, our differences are trivial when we consider the human virtues and aspirations that we all share in common. World Religion Day is celebrated in a variety of ways, and the hope is that the young generation will benefit from a world-embracing vision of inclusion and diversity. Many people will attend special services which center around respecting other viewpoints and reflecting on the universal message of treating each other with respect and understanding to create a better world for everyone.
Here you see the major prophets or manifestations of God throughout the ages, from the time of Abraham, around 5,000 years before Christ, to that of Baha'u'llah, 1,863 years after Christ. And the concept of progressive revelation from God to mankind. There are, of course, many more religions not captured here, including Sikhism and Jainism and others. The essence is this, and I quote from Abdul Baha, the son of the founder of the Baha'i faith. The divine religions of the holy manifestations of God are in reality one, though in name and nomenclature they differ. Man must be a lover of the light, no matter from what dayspring it may appear. He must be a lover of the rose, no matter in what soil it may be growing. He must be a seeker of truth, no matter from what source it come. Now in the next few slides we start with Abraham, and in successive slides review the salient features of each of these prophets or manifestations. Krishna has been God to millions of Hindus, and as the leader of Hinduism, a hero, protector, philosopher, teacher, and friend, all rolled into one. For many, particularly those in the Indian subcontinent. He has influenced the Indian thought, life, and culture in myriad of ways, and also its mysticism and literature, painting and sculpture, dance and music, and all aspects of Indian folklore. Lord Krishna lived on earth between 3200 and 3100 BC and was a source of inspiration for the Bhagavad Gita, the best known and most famous of Hindu scriptures, which has embedded a unique pan-Hindu influence that calls for selfless action. This inspired many leaders of the Indian independence movement in recent times, including Mahatma Gandhi. He famously referred to the teachings as his spiritual dictionary. Of the two scriptures referenced in this slide, the Vedas was more focused directly on religion and its rituals, while the Bhagavad Gita was a narrative story about an individual character, about war and his relation to a god, and the social expectations which is expressed in the form of a dialogue between a prince, Arjuna, and Krishna, his charioteer. Today, Hindus count as the third most populous religion in the world, with over 1 billion adherents, mostly in the Indian subcontinent. The power of God is with you at all times, through the activities of mind, senses, breathing, and emotions, and is constantly doing all the work, using you as a mere instrument. Bhagavad Gita.
Judaism is the world's oldest monotheistic religion, dating back nearly 4,000 years. Followers of Judaism believe in one God who revealed himself through ancient prophets. Jewish people believe God established a covenant or special agreement with Abraham, and that he and his descendants were chosen people who would create a great nation. Abraham's son Isaac and his grandson Jacob also became central figures in ancient Jewish history. Jacob took the name Israel, and his children and future generations became known as Israelites. More than 1,000 years after Abraham, the prophet Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt after being enslaved for hundreds of years. According to scriptures, God revealed his laws, known as the Ten Commandments, to Moses on Mount Sinai. Jewish people worship in holy places such as the synagogue shown here and are led by their spiritual leaders, rabbis. The six-pointed Star of David, the symbol of Judaism, is also shown here. The Jewish sacred text is called the Tanakh, shown here in a scroll and often referred to as the Torah. It includes the same books as the Old Testament in the Christian Bible, but they're placed in a slightly different order. Most Jews believe that their Messiah hasn't come yet, but will one day. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be upon thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Tanakh.
Zoroastrianism was founded by the prophet Zoroaster in ancient Iran more than 1,000 years before Christ. Zoroaster was born in northeast Iran and southwest Afghanistan into a culture that was polytheistic and worshipped many gods. There's little documentation on Zoroaster's birth and early life. What is known is that he was born into a clan and worked as a priest, was a family man with a wife, 3 sons, and 3 daughters. When Zoroaster was 30 years old, he had a divine vision of God during a ritual purification ceremony. This vision radically transformed his view of the world, and then he preached this view to others, that there was one creator God called Ahura Mazda, rather than the many that were worshipped. His book, the Avesta, contains hymns thought to be composed by Zoroaster himself. The motto of the religion is good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Zoroastrianism was the state religion of Persia, starting in the 6th century before Christ, including the Sassanid dynasty. With the arrival of Islam, which ultimately became the state religion in Persia and the surrounding regions, the influence of Zoroastrianism receded, but the essential teachings of the Prophet remain as a potent force for harmony in wide areas of the world. Let all those who do good deeds come together to foster Mother Earth. God and truth speak the language of revelation that comes from the highest mind. From the beginning have you been the teacher. Avesta.
Buddhism is a faith that was founded by Gautama, the Buddha, more than 2,500 years ago in India. Its practice has historically been most prominent in East and Southeast Asia, but its influence has grown in the West. Many Buddhist ideas and philosophies overlap with those of other faiths. Followers of Buddhism, while believing in one supreme God or deity, focus instead on achieving enlightenment, a state of inner peace and wisdom. When followers reach this spiritual echelon, they are said to have experienced nirvana. The path to enlightenment is attained by meditation, wisdom, and morality. Buddhists often meditate because they believe it helps awaken truth. Buddhists' most important teachings, known as the Four Noble Truths, are that life is impermanent and imperfect and involves suffering, that there are things in life that cause suffering, such as desire, that suffering can be ended if we detach ourselves from craving and desire, and that there is a way to end suffering by following noble eightfold paths that are described. Buddhists embrace the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect, and reincarnation, the continuous cycle of rebirth. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. Tripitaka.
Christianity is focused on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, who Christians believe to be the Son of God. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the Middle East over 2,000 years ago. Christians believe there is only one God, but that he is revealed in three different forms: God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Christians model themselves on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, with its tender features of love of God and love their neighbour. Christians believe that God sent Jesus to live as a human being in order to save humanity from the consequences of its sins, the bad things humanity had chosen to do, which had separated them from God, and that through the death and resurrection of Jesus, this broken relationship with God is restored. Also, that humans carry the original sin of Adam and Eve, and through following their faith will attain salvation in this world and the next. The New Testament explains how God sent his only Son, Jesus Christ, to restore the broken relationship between people and God which had been caused by human wrongdoing. Jesus was executed on a cross as a criminal by the Romans, and according to Christian teaching, after 3 days he rose from the dead, the resurrection. Today, Christianity boasts having the largest number of religious adherents in the world, some 2.2 billion according to Pew and John Templeton Foundation research of 2010. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:6. Islam was promulgated by the Prophet Muhammad in Arabia in the 7th century Common Era. The Arabic term Islam, literally surrender, illuminates the fundamental religious idea of Islam that the believer accepts surrender to the will of Allah or God. Allah is viewed as the sole God, creator, sustainer, and restorer of the world. Muslims have additional main beliefs in their Holy Quran, in angels, in prophets of the past such as Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, a belief in the Day of Judgment, whether they go to heaven or hell, and in predestination. This doesn't stop human beings making free choices. Muslims' religious obligations to carry out are obligatory prayer, almsgiving, fasting during the month of Ramadan, pilgrimage to Mecca once in a lifetime. After the passing of the Prophet Muhammad, divisions occurred with the creation of two main branches, the Shia and Sunni. The Shia accepting the succession after the Prophet being Ali, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law, and his offsprings, and the Sunnis who believed 3 caliphs would succeed Muhammad before Ali would take the leadership. So began the two ministries of the Imams and the Caliphs. Other offshoots of these theologies also took shape thereafter. Today, Islam is the religion with the second most adherents in the world following Christianity, with 1.6 billion according to Pew John Templeton Research 2010. Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion, and do not expel you from your homes, from being righteous toward them and acting justly toward them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly. Quran 68.
The Bab was the forerunner of Baha'u'llah, much as John the Baptist was the forerunner of Christ. However, The Bab also brought a book called the Bayan, which crucially set new standards of interpreting Quranic teachings away from the literal interpretation of the Shia clergy to one that looked at their inner spiritual significance. He also proclaimed in 1844 to be the return of the 12th Imam that Shia Islam was awaiting. This caused an upheaval in Persia that led to the killing of tens of thousands of his followers and ultimately to the Bab's own martyrdom in 1850. The principles, standards, and laws that the Bab promoted challenged the very structure of society dominated by the clergy and promoted instead an independent and thoughtful investigation of the truth by each individual. Inspired by his message, thousands upon thousands embraced his teachings and became known as Babis. Here you see his final resting place in Haifa, Israel, under the golden domed shrine, placed there after more than 50 years of being in transit from place to place. The Bab also foretold of one whom God shall make manifest, paving the way for the coming of Baha'u'llah within a short period of time. Say, God sufficeth all things above all things, and nothing in the heavens or in the earth or in whatever lieth between them but God, thy Lord, sufficeth. Verily, he is in himself the knower, the sustainer, the omnipotent. The Bab.
The Baha'i faith is the newest of world religions, comprising several million adherents from a variety of different religious and cultural backgrounds. The central figure of the religion is Baha'u'llah, and Baha'is consider him to be the latest in the series of divine messengers. He was born into a noble Persian family, but spent the majority of his life living in exile within the Ottoman Empire. After a series of religious intimations, he revealed a number of major books, including letters to the kings and rulers of his time, to abandon warfare and to remove the burden of its expenditures and lives on their people, and seek instead that which is conducive to well-being, upliftment, and prosperity of their subjects. The most prolific of the messengers of God, he wrote well over 100 books providing guidance on diverse topics, addressing themes of everyday concern to topics on meditation and spiritual enlightenment. His most holy book, or the Kitab al-Aqdas, contains his laws and ordinances and is shown here. Here you also see the Baha'i World Center in Haifa, Israel, the seat of its spiritual and administrative order. The key goal around which all his teachings revolve is the oneness of mankind, equality of men and women, abolition of all forms of prejudice, the need for a spiritual solution to the economic problems, and many other principles are in support of this main goal, which Baha'is believe will ultimately lead to an organic global community, the attainment of world peace, and an ever-advancing civilization. The utterance of God is a lamp, whose light is these words: Ye are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch. Deal ye one with another with the utmost love and harmony, with friendliness and fellowship. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. Exert yourselves that ye may attain this transcendent and most sublime station, the station that can ensure the protection and security of all mankind. This goal excelleth every other goal, and this aspiration is the monarch of all aspirations, Baha'u'llah.
Ya
ye children of men, the fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and His religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race, and to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men. Whatsoever is raised on this foundation, the changes and chances of the world can never impair its strength, nor will the revolution of countless centuries undermine its structure. Baha'u'llah.
I invite you to join me in a spirit of meditation, reflection, and prayer. Let us take a moment to breathe into the silence, allowing our breathing in and our breathing out to ground us into the present moment. Spirit of life and love, as we sit together in this time of reflection, separated by the pandemic, yet joined in mind and spirit, and through screens or sheets of paper. Some of us struggling with lockdown and all it brings with it. Some of us feeling okay. Some holding tender personal concerns in our hearts this day. We wish for every person to be safe and well. We wish for every person to be treated with love. May we be comforted by the warmth of our community. Light of the universe, source of peace. In the softness of this moment, may we find peace in our minds to help keep calm in our bodies. May we seek quiet within so that we find compassion throughout. Even if outside might be loud. Let us close with a few more breaths in silence. May it be so. Amen. You may have wondered why our opening music sounded like we've gone back a month. Don't worry, the Groundhog Day feeling isn't that real. We joined today in solidarity with Armenian siblings in Bethlehem. Palestine's Armenian Orthodox Christian community is observing Christmas Eve today. The faithful travelling from Jerusalem to the Church of Nativity of Christ in Bethlehem to celebrate the occasion. So if you're not quite done with the 25th December celebration or 7th January Eastern Orthodox observance, you might like to enjoy festivities of some kind tomorrow. For our closing music, we'll hear a medieval Christmas carol from Julia, which she has sung in Bethlehem and Jerusalem. As Unitarians, we're already very open to the knowledge and wisdom that we can gain from other religious and spiritual traditions. Like our Baha'i siblings, we strive for unity in diversity, with religious freedom at the core. I like to remember what Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, that before becoming a Muslim, a Sikh, a Hindu or a Christian, let's become a human first. Today I invite you to consider to commit or recommit to including understanding of other faith traditions as a spiritual practice. Perhaps you might like to make a spiritual commitment to engage in interreligious dialogue. Explore one of the texts we heard earlier. Share the knowledge you learn and the love you receive with others. May we seek religious harmony through recognition and respect, as well as mutual understanding and recognizing diversity. As Baha'u'llah said, "The earth is but one country and humankind its citizens." May we honour all those who came before us with messages of hope, peace and love. As people prepare to celebrate the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., may we remember his words that peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. May we continue to listen, to be open to understanding, to recognize that we share the same divine light. May we continue to respect and honour the light in each person with a spirit of loving kindness. May we continue to look to love. May your light continue to illuminate and to shine for others. And may the light of justice fall upon us all. May it be so.